So, time to time, I will stumble upon a post on LinkedIn that kind of stops me in my tracks. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is something that Nancy and I need to talk about because I had this conversation with a client yesterday. I'm not going to speak for Nancy, but I feel like I have a due diligence as a LinkedIn educator to call it as I see it, be honest, be open, be forthright with things that I see that if people fall for these traps, it could lead to destructive things, not only for their LinkedIn presence, but for their business. I don't want to see people spending money on crap on LinkedIn and buying into something that is just not real. So, in today's training, in today's episode, what Nancy and I are going to cover are the realistic expectations of your LinkedIn growth. Now, there are various capacities of growth that we could talk about, but we're going to talk about the network growth, connections, followers, however you want to categorize them. And I prepped Nancy. She doesn't even know what this post says, but I want to read the post to everyone, whether you're watching live or on the replay, or listening on the podcast. And I want Nancy's initial reaction to it and then just kind of have an open discussion of what's real and what you can expect on LinkedIn. Now, before we dive in, Nancy and I have talked about this before. We have a group coaching mastermind called Expert Authority. So we work with coaches, consultants, and service professionals, i.e., accountants, lawyers, insurance professionals, niche coaches. We have nursing coaches. We have coaches that teach other lawyers and so on and so on. Financial professionals. Once or twice a year, we will open up pre-enrollment spots because we only take 10 to 15 people. This next group kicks off in the beginning of 2026, towards the end of January, early February. And we always like people to jump on this as quickly as possible. So we always set aside about five pre-enrollment spots. Uh, Two are already spoken for and taken. So what we want to do is make it the opportunity for anyone that is looking to grow and scale their business in 2026 with myself and Nancy. Then we would love to get on a call with you to discuss your business, tell you more about our group coaching mastermind, which is hybrid group coaching, one-to-one consulting and coaching for myself and Nancy, a portal of training. Uh, we call it the LinkedIn Growth Engine. So it's basically helping people optimize everything they're doing on LinkedIn and off of LinkedIn, helping you collect more emails, scale and grow your business, optimize certain aspects of your business. And I handle sales, LinkedIn, client acquisition. Nancy tackles operations and systems that you need in order to grow. So if you are interested in learning more about these pre-enrollment spots, which do come with a discount, all you have to do if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube is type the word me in the comments, and we will send you a link where you can book a time on our calendar because the pre-enrollment spots are going away once the first five are taken, or by January 5th, which is only a couple weeks away, which is crazy. If you're listening on the podcast, super easy. The link to our calendar will be in the show notes and the description of this episode, so you're not going to have to go too far. So if you are interested, click on the link or type me in the comments if you're watching on social. So, Nance, here's the post. And I don't want you to think. I want you to Mel Robbins this 5 4 3 2 1 it. So some of the stuff I do agree with in the sense of what this person said, but the overarching message I don't agree with. So here was the hook that gets people to click on it. So the hook was, quote, how I grew to 70,000 followers spending less than 10 minutes a day on LinkedIn. Now, mind you, there was no time frame that this person grew, but it looks like they've only been in business for a couple of years, if that. And it went off to share five tips. Number one, They stuck to a niche they knew people cared about. They wrote how they spoke. They prepped their content every Friday. They stopped overthinking it and they focused on helping, not performing. And some of that stuff I do believe, but to go from barely any following to 70,000 with just those 5 steps, it just smells funky to me because even though I align with a lot of the things that were mentioned as far as the 5 things this person did dance, you and I both know I've been on LinkedIn for 13 years, hitting it hard, and I am at 30, almost 37,000 followers, and it's been ramping up every year. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initial thoughts.
Right. I mean, did you send me the
I just no, I just said it. Were you not paying attention?
Sorry. No. Repeat
I
it.
said they said how I grew my to 70,000 followers, spending less than 10 minutes a day on LinkedIn. They stuck to a niche they knew people cared about. They wrote how they spoke. They prepped their content on Fridays. They stopped overthinking it and they focused on helping, not performing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's all you have to do. That was the
That was it. So I mean they gave some context, meaning they said they shared LinkedIn tips every day. Um, they tested what worked, eventually realized that this was it.
well,
They stopped trying to be polished and professional. Every Friday or Sunday, if they were behind, they'd block out time
yeah,
to do
I
their
call
posts.
sorry, I call bullshit. Like I just so here's the thing. Is it possible to go viral, right? Have a ton of impressions, have a lot of comments, things like that. Yes, right? You did a quote, I think years ago, and I remember, right? Didn't that thing, what was the highest that thing bumped up to?
It was a Pele quote, and it was an article. This was before
Yeah, it was
newsletters,
like
and
a
I
little
think
baby article. Yeah.
yeah, it got like I don't even know. It got 30, 40,000 likes or something. I could pull up the
Yeah,
analytics.
I
I
mean,
don't
it
even
had a
remember.
ton of impressions.
Ton.
I mean, I think it might have even hit the million mark. So here's the thing, right? For someone to just say, oh, yeah, you can grow by 70,000 connections, it all comes down to, right, that kind of bait marketing where it's like almost sounds too good to be true. Why? Because it is, the kind of thing where it's like launch one day and make millions of dollars. But like what you're not seeing is a lot of different things behind it, right? LinkedIn isn't just going to tap the magic wand and say, yep, you're going to like now, go wild and crazy if you're not doing some of the other things, right? If your profile isn't completely filled out, if it isn't optimized, if you don't have a presence, if you're not using LinkedIn, connecting with other people, right? If you're not doing other things, right, there's a good chance that the algorithm in LinkedIn is not gonna, heavily push your stuff out there. Now, if you happen to get super lucky and you do put together a piece of content that really hits hard, again, it might get a ton of impressions, it might get some comments, you might get some reshares, but the 70,000 connections, I just want to be very transparent. That's not normal. What is going to make people actually connect with you? Again, like, I don't know what the specific post is. If it's something that's like, oh my gosh, I want to follow this person
Well,
because they, you
surprise,
know,
surprise, they're a quote unquote LinkedIn coach too, by the way.
yeah, well, I mean, obviously, again, this is just like very like clickbaity marketing type thing. We like to teach realistic. We like to actually teach to do right. The thing that's, I don't love the phrase, but right, kill one bird with, or no, kill multiple birds with one stone, right? We want to do multiple things at once. If you're creating high quality content, if you are posting, right, stuff that your audience values, if you are showing up and telling stories and hitting that, emotional touch point, that note with people, like awesome, right? Let's do that. That's also what can create a viral post. So if you focus on just one post and obsessing over the numbers and whatever, that's not going to be as valuable as being consistent, right? Showing up consistently, posting consistent valued content, and all of those things that we should be doing anyway. So I just don't want people to fall for the, oh, let's do this because it's easy and we're gonna hit the button and this is the way to do it, right? It's a way. Is it impossible? No, but is it highly unlikely for everybody to achieve this and recreate it? Yes. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Nancy said because Nancy and I always talk about what needs to be done to grow your network on LinkedIn, right? You should have a clear niche of who you're talking to on LinkedIn, right? Defining that. You should part of our strategy, even with our content community, is blocking out, 60 to 90 minutes 1 day a week and creating and scheduling your LinkedIn content for the week ahead. So I do agree with that. We also agree with not overthinking it. That's why we created some of the prompts that we did. But here's the thing. The post that Nancy was talking about, it was a Pele quote. It was a 1 minute article that I wrote. Literally, it was a paragraph. It got ridiculous engagement. Did it lead to mounds and mounds and mounds of connections and followers? No. I had great analytics that week, but that's it. So it then brings up the question that you guys may be thinking about. Well, if you guys agree with what this person said as far as what they're doing, but it's not directly correlated to having 70,000 followers, what is this person doing? The first thing that comes to mind for me is they're probably using some sort of automated software that they shouldn't be, that's potentially connecting and messaging, maybe sending emails. But above that, I am a firm believer this person is probably in some sort of engagement or network growth pod because, again, LinkedIn frowns upon this. They talk about it very openly. It is not realistic to go from just opening an account to 70,000 followers. Just we want everyone to be mindful. What you have to start thinking about is the numbers, right? So you're only allowed to send 100 connection requests a week, and the acceptance rate is between 20 to 30%. So let's call it 25% on average. So you'll accrue 25 new connections. When someone accepts, they become a connection and a follower, right? Because they count towards that. Some people just follow, some people connect and they become a follower. So that's 100 new connections slash followers a month. If you compound that over a year, that's 1,200 new connections slash followers a year. So then you start thinking about, okay, this person literally 60x'd those types of results. So just to kind of break that down, if this was done over a 3 year period, just say it was done over 36 months, right? What that breaks down to is almost 25,000 new followers a year for 3 years. And if you break that down even further, right, 25,000 followers a year, that basically means that person was getting 2,000 new followers every month, which means they were getting 500 new followers a week. How realistic is that? 500 new followers every week for 3 years if we were using that 3 year time span. I remember, Nance, I was listening to uh, a podcast. It was a LinkedIn focused podcast, and they had a guest on there. And I remember this person got on there and literally said that in 90 days, they went from zero connections to 30,000 in 90 days. This is why Nancy and I are so forthcoming with this type of stuff that people may be seeing on LinkedIn because you're being sold unrealistic expectations. So if I was a newbie to LinkedIn and I saw, oh, all I have to do is speak directly to my niche market, I have to stop overthinking it. I have to plan my content out on Fridays or Sundays. I have to just be my own voice. How is that helping someone understand the KPI, the key performance indicators of those things? How does that actually correlate to gaining 70,000 followers. Mind you, in only 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. I don't even spend 10 minutes a day. Nancy and I always tell people that you have to spend at least 20 minutes a day, up to 30 a day. That's to connect, to network, to engage, to start conversations with people that you want to connect with offline. 10 minutes a day? Really? And that will equate to 70,000 followers? The other thing that I'll say, and I'm going to turn over to Nancy. Nancy mentioned this article that I wrote. That was, in all honesty, the first and only viral post I have ever had on LinkedIn in the 13 years that I've been using it for business. One. One viral post. So, where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that if you see these people that have large followings, I mean hundreds of thousands, you're like, who is this jabroni? Like, I've never heard of this person. They don't have a podcast, they don't have a book, they don't have anything. They just have this huge following of 100,000 people. And every single post they put out there is like striking oil. It's got thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, 45 reshares. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. You are the way that the LinkedIn algorithms work, and I said algorithms because there's about 12 or 13 of them. You are not supposed to strike oil with every single piece of content that you put out there. Some do good, some don't. Some do great, some do average. Some engage, some don't. But when you see someone, and this is the other crazy thing, Nance, I have 36,000 plus followers, right? I'll still only get maybe 20, 30, 40 likes on a post with maybe 10 or 15 comments, where you'll see someone that has way less followers than me, maybe 3, 4, 5,000, and yet they're getting thousands of engagements. That smells funky. So, my question to you, Nance, is just so people understand the clear expectations, right? When someone is diving into LinkedIn, they're following our strategies and they understand, okay, you know, this is reality versus fantasy world. So a lot of the stuff that you see is fantasy world on LinkedIn, but the reality is you should have slow and steady growth. What can you tell people about the real expectations of their LinkedIn network connection and follower growth that should give them comfort and should let them know that they're on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said before, like if you are following, the daily routines, if you're posting consistently, like I said before, we're doing multiple things, right? It's all part of the bigger picture. And what you can expect is, like not crazy wild growth, drop in the bucket, it's going to be a build over time. But, we talk about this all the time with a lot of our clients, that, yes, you can have some posts that do really, really well and you'll see a lot of traction and things like that. Other times you'll see the post that you think is going to do really well and it doesn't, because the algorithm does fluctuate, things change. But, the one thing that we do know is that LinkedIn was created, right, to be a platform where you make real connections. Right, where you network with people. The goal isn't just to focus on vanity numbers, it's to use it for a purpose. And we just had this conversation. I mean, you can connect with just a handful of people that can epically and radically change your business, right? And what I mean by that is, you actually jumping on a call, right? Making a connection, networking with someone. I always use the example, I made a connection with my, whenever I was looking for a PR agency that specialized in nonprofit, that was for my social media agency. And I'd reach out to one person and she said, Nancy, I need your help. If you're ready to open the floodgates, like I've got tons of clients that need content. And at the time, I'm like, no, like I'm focusing on health insurance. I do have a couple of nonprofit clients, but when I'm ready, I will reach back out. Just there, right? Making one connection that can just open up your business, can be huge. I've heard of people finding business partners, joint ventures, different types of things where, it makes perfect sense for them to be complements in business. And that's just one way, where we're not looking for a million people. We're not looking for tons of numbers. We're looking for that one really, really unique connection. So I just always go back to you guys, stop trying to hit the easy button on everything. Let's actually look at using LinkedIn intentionally the way that it's meant to be used. And let's look at just using it super focused, right, on doing those things that are really going to move the needle in our business, which is, let's get on some calls with some leads, let's get on some calls with, some connection partners who will really help kind of promote and, again, be a reciprocal relationship. I always go back to, right, if you're not using LinkedIn, and you're not making friends, you're not doing it the right way, right? That's what, we interviewed Andy Cresadina, who's the author of Content Chemistry, owner of Orbit Media, and he, flat out said, yeah, like, he said, seriously, like everyone should be prioritizing this. This is your voice. It's your brand. It's you showing up as you, right? There's no other platform like it. Your resume is literally online. Okay. So make this a priority. And like Scott said, in about 20 minutes a day, it can drastically, drastically change your business. So stop looking for the get out of jail, this super easy, viral, post. Stop being baited by those. It's not realistic. Does it happen? Sure. Does it happen often? No. Do we want to like put all our eggs in one basket and just focus on chasing that, that unicorn? No, we want to actually focus on building our personal brand and we want to build our lead gen and we want to build our connections. And that happens over time.
Yep. And just like Nancy said, it's not that we completely disagree with what this person posted. The core concepts are very true. Stop overthinking, plan ahead, speak directly to your niche, but it's going to take longer than 10 minutes a day to grow a network of that size. That's what we kind of just want to let you guys know. Again, just really check in with yourselves because there's a lot of garbage being posted on social media, LinkedIn included. If like we're all good judges of not just character, but we're also good judges of what's real and what's not. And we're all smart business people. If something looks too good to be true or sounds too good to be true and just kind of smells off and your alarms are going off, then you're probably on the nose with it. Intuitively, you probably know that this is a bunch of BS. This is garbage. This is not real. And sadly, there's a lot of people that fall for those tactics and those tricks. That's why Nancy and I are always forthcoming with what does and what does not work, what is real and what is not. And that was the point of today's episode and today's training. So, before we sign off today's training and today's episode again, early bird pre-enrollment for our group coaching mastermind Expert Authority is officially open. It's open for the next couple of weeks. The doors to pre-enrollment spots close on January 5th. I know that sounds far away because it's in 2026, but it's only a couple weeks away. So again, if you're watching on social, just type the word me in the comments and I'll send you our calendar link so you can grab a time. If you're listening on the podcast, super duper easy. All you have to do is just go to the description. The link is right there to our calendar. Grab a time, and we would love to learn about your business, what you're struggling with, what you need help with, and how this program and coaching could help you. So, everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.